以下共享今日主题：四种存在力量，有感互异。首先共享无形世界、异次元世界。除了我人现行居住的三维空间，其余我人肉眼无法辨识的空间统称异次元世界。爱因斯坦在相对论中提及四次元的理念，论及我人长久居住的宇宙是三维空间，由长、宽、高三轴组成。如若加上时间轴，则组成时空统一体的四维空间。如何能够维持同时并存？唯一的方法就是假设还有其他更高次元的存在，而这些已知的存在力量对不同维度空间的生物而言，因为能量阶的不同，因此有感互异，包括第一，万有引力存在于物质之间；第二，电磁力存在于正负电荷之间；三，强核作用力将原子核聚在一起；四，弱核作用力控制放射现象。不为人所知者，高次元空间隐藏在巨观的四次元世界之中。平常我人因为能量阶的不同，不易接触到高次元世界。但如若我人的形体缩小到只有原子般大小时，许多新的次元自然凸显在我人的面前。目前宇宙的发展阶段，巨观宇宙剩下四次元空间，其他高次元的空间虽然依旧存在，但都被封锁在粒子内部，需要具备极高的能量才能打破粒子屏障，以利自由进出高次元的空间。因此宇宙间如若有高次元生命的存在，其生命的物质成分势必要非常低，而其能量必须非常高，据此才能进出微粒子的内部空间。以下共享引力对比存在力量。万有引力不涉及到任何的力，也并不是两个物体之间的相互作用。同理之，黑洞也并不存在引力，黑洞只是弯曲了周围的空间，是黑洞连光都无法逃脱。引力如果是力，又怎么可能从黑洞逃脱？以上所谓的存在力量，更精准而言是相互作用，并不是一个产生力的物理过程，而是现象本身，是效应本身。牛顿用力的概念去阐述引力的相互作用，而爱因斯坦则用时空弯曲来阐述引力相互作用。因此当我们论其正确会喻四种存在力量之际，不应该将力的概念等同于相互作用。相互作用并非是物理过程，因此它不会产生引力。当我人习惯性将上述四种力称为存在力量，源于诠释的视角而衍生，称之为引力。以下共享圣玄结论：坐禅进出异次元空间。禅定功夫借由深化思维，成就进入各个异次元空间的方法。经典指出，正确的坐禅观点如下：六祖坛经云：无障无碍，外于一切善恶境界，心念不起，名为坐；内见自性不动，名为禅。经典教导，禅坐与盘腿无关。如何将心念专注于超越现象界善恶等二元对立，内心不受其束缚，进而解脱烦恼挂碍，是谓坐；转化烦恼为正向思维，进而直击照见如如不动的自信，这是禅。觉熙轩永远走在时代魅力前沿，即日起全面双语播出，用心教会全球每一位读者。觉熙轩是众生的直灯引路人。Let's share today's topic: the four forms of existential power, essential diversity. First of all, let's share invisible world, alternate dimension world. Apart from the three-dimensional space we currently reside in, all other invisible spaces are collectively called the alternate dimension world. Einstein introduced the concept of four dimensions in his theory of relativity, discussing that the universe we have long resided in as a three-dimensional space composed of length, width, and height and axis. However, when we added the time axis, it forms a four-dimensional space known as the space-time continuum. The only way to sustain the simultaneous coexistence is to assume the presence of higher dimensions. These non-existential forces for beings in different dimensional spaces exhibit distant perceptions due to differences in energy gap, including number 1, universal gravitation exists between matter. Number 2, electromagnetic force exists between positive and negative charges. Number 3, strong nuclear force holds atomic nuclei together. Number 4, weak nuclear force governs radioactive phenomena. The undisclosed information indicates that the higher dimensional space is concealed within the macroscopic four-dimensional world. Usually, due to differences in energy levels, we need help assessing the higher dimensional world. However, if our physical form were to shrink to the size of atoms, many new dimensions would naturally appear in front of us. Currently, in the cosmic development phase, the macroscopic universe consists of only four-dimensional space. Other higher dimensional spaces, although they still exist, are all locked within particles. Breaking through the particle barrier to access higher dimensional space requires an extremely high energy. Therefore, if there exists a higher dimensional life in the universe, the material composition of their life forms must be extremely sparse, and their energy levels must be exceedingly high to traverse the inner spaces of microscopic particles. Let's share gravity versus existential force. Universal gravitation does not involve any force and is not an interaction between two objects. Similarly, black holes do not exert gravity. They merely bend the surrounding space. Even light cannot escape a black hole. So if gravity were a force, how could it run from a black hole? The so-called force of existence mentioned above, to be more precise, is interaction, not a physical process that generates force, but rather the phenomenon itself, the effect itself. Newton used the concept of force to explain gravitational interaction, while Einstein described it as the curvature of space-time gravitational interaction. Therefore, when we discuss the four types of forces that exist currently, we should not equate the concept of force with interaction. Interaction, being not a physical process, does not produce gravity. When we habitually refer to the forces mentioned above as forces of existence, it results from an interpretive perspective that leads to calling them gravity. Let's share Master Samchan's conclusion: meditation, pervasing various dimensional space. Through sublimation of contemplation, meditative proficiency achieves the method of pervasing various dimensional spaces. The scriptures indicate the correct perspective for Zen meditation as follows. The Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch states, without hindrance or obstruction, beyond all realms of good and evil, with a mind free from arising thoughts, is called sitting. Looking within and seeing one's nature undisturbed is called meditation. The scripture teaching is as below. Meditation has nothing to do with cross-legged sitting. It involves focusing one's mind beyond the dualistic opposition of phenomena, such as good and evil, freeing the inner self from its constraints and liberating oneself from afflictions and obstacles. This is so-called sitting, transforming suffering into positive thoughts and directly perceiving the invaluable true nature is what meditation is all about. The Enlightened Online, forever leading the charm of the times, officially launched overall bilingual broadcast, dedicated to enriching every reader worldwide. The Enlightened Online, the guiding light for all beings.